Well, hello everyone. My name is Zinky Guoxue, and I'm going to just talk a little about what is schizophrenia and my understanding of schizophrenia after suffering some symptoms of it myself and doing some research on it on the internet. So let's go ahead and get started. So yeah, this is supposed to be an educational video on schizophrenia. So I guess the broadest definition of clinical schizophrenia is it's a spectrum of brain diseases that affect one's mood and cognition and oftentimes decision making. So I'm not going to talk about my personal symptoms too much, although the things I mention in this video are somewhat affected by, like I seem to choose things that I experience more than some other symptoms. Uh, so I was personally hospitalized twice for some of the symptoms of schizophrenia that I had. And just a disclaimer, I'm not a neuroscientist, so you should take what I say with like a grain of salt because it's mostly what I've read on the internet and what I've you know experienced myself. So schizophrenia, it affects actually a significant portion of people. It's like between 0.3 to 1% of the population, depending on maybe which country you're in. And so if the USA has 300 million people, maybe that's like 1.5 million have schizophrenia, or like 1.1 million have schizophrenia. And it's a disease that the more severe symptoms, they kind of start, and the onset is like between the ages of 16 to 32. So it's kind of unfortunate. That's a lot of the times when young people are trying to start their lives. And yeah. So let's talk about what the symptoms of schizophrenia are. So basically, you can classify symptoms of schizophrenia into three categories. Positive symptoms are symptoms that are like roughly there are symptoms that people with schizophrenia have that people without schizophrenia don't have. Negative symptoms are symptoms that people with are things that people with schizophrenia kind of don't have or have less of compared to people who don't have schizophrenia. And then there's lots of cognitive deficits with like working memory and stuff that are present in a lot of people with schizophrenia. So, a lot of people know about the positive and symptoms, which are things like hallucinations. They can be auditory or visual hallucinations. For me, I have some like somatosensory hallucinations, I guess. Like I feel itchiness when there's nothing bothering me, but it's like very minor for me. And sometimes people have delusions on what they think or perceive to be real, even though there may not be, sufficient evidence for that belief for a normal person to think that. Uh, for the negative symptoms, there's, these are kind of affect one's life a bit more, in my opinion. There's actually a lot of them that I have personally experienced and that I'm sure lots of other people experience. So, there's lack of affect, which is kind of, and just so I preface this, the reason I'm able to function in life sometimes is because I, take some medication which really helps me to be able to like talk and kind of seem normal on the outside. But I do struggle with a lot of my symptoms on a lot of days. And it's like a struggle bus to do much in life. But anyways, on with the negative symptoms. This can be lack of affect. So affect is like one's like facial expression and, seeming happy when you're surprised and happy, or seeming sad when you're sad, or, it can be hard to express one's emotions, even though, I guess personally, for me, it's like I feel some emotions, but I just, I can't express that I'm happy or sad sometimes, even though I feel those emotions. Anhedonia, or the inability to feel pleasure, is pretty common. And this is, like for me, I like playing piano, I like doing math, I like StarCraft, but sometimes even if I'm doing the things I love most in life, I don't get any pleasure from it. And it's like a real problem to enjoying life. There's lack of motivation, and like it's kind of, and this ties in with like, it's really hard to like initiate starting doing things. Like when I was in college, I kind of like had trouble just walking to class, talking, eating. Each of these things, you might think, oh, it's like pretty simple to do, but I don't know, it just required a lot of effort for me to start doing it and like continue doing those things, even though they're like basic functions of life. um yeah, there's lack of I guess sex drive or libido. So for me, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to talk about it too much right now, so let's just move on. There's, I guess you can have lack of energy, so I feel fatigued a lot of the times. I think when I was in college and not diagnosed yet, I was just lying in bed watching YouTube videos a lot of the time because uh, yeah, it was just, I just had no willpower and energy to do anything. It felt like there's something draining all my energy from like every corner of my body, which is really bad. Um, Also, there's like a lack of spontaneity. So I suffered from this, a lot, but I'm sure lots of other people with similar diseases on the schizophrenia spectrum, also suffer from like lack of spontaneity. And this is, like in terms of behavior and speech. Uh, right now, I'm okay because I'm taking some medication and it does seem to help. There's also the problem of trouble converting, like what you think into like what you say with your mouth. So, it's like part of it is like sometimes it's just hard to talk at all. That's called allogia, poverty of speech. Sometimes it's just like, I'm thinking a lot of things, but I can't physically say them for some reason. Like, I don't know, my speech centers are not working properly somewhere in the pathway. Uh, and I guess, there's kind of like, it's a little bit hard for me to like keep some friendships because sometimes I just lack the desire to socialize, even though like normally I would want to socialize and, be with others, bond with others. But sometimes even when I'm with other people, I just lack that desire for some reason. There's also lots of the third type of symptoms or category of symptoms is like cognitive deficits. So, people with maybe like severe depression or things on the schizophrenia spectrum, you know, uh, a lot of people can have trouble converting like with memory consolidation. So maybe, you learn something and, maybe it's some math fact or math conceptual understanding and, you understand it one day, but the next day you can't seem to recall it. So there's some problems with like converting short-term memory to long-term memory, especially like declarative memory. So like facts, like, reading and things you read on Wikipedia or things you learn that are like, math, physics, conceptual things. It doesn't seem to affect like, in terms of physical muscle memory, your like physical memory that much. Um, it can be hard to recall like common words. Like, English is kind of basically my first language, and sometimes I can't remember basic words in English. I know other people have this problem too who don't have any severe mental illness, but like, I don't know. There are just some common words that I frequently can't seem to recall sometimes. And it can be hard to process information. Uh, and there's like less activity in the front part of your brain. So it can be hard to make decisions and just, do things and initiate activities in general. So I didn't mean to talk too much about my personal experience, but these are some common symptoms of people with schizophrenia. For me, I don't have that much positive symptoms. It's mostly just negative symptoms and cognitive deficits, which I personally think are like more debilitating than like, I mean, I could be wrong. Like, I think it's actually really bad to have like lots of hallucinations or delusions too. That can be debilitating in a different way. But for me, I just, I'm stuck in bed a lot of the times, and like I'm like able to do things like, maybe a third of the days in a month, and the other third of the day, or like 2/3 of the days in a month, maybe I can do things if I'm on medication. And a lot of days in the month, like 10, 11 days every month, I just don't feel well enough to do anything. Like I'm just, a bit incapacitated for various like reasons or feelings of fatigue that I can't describe too well. But yeah, those are just some like, this will probably be the first video I make about understanding schizophrenia. And I just want to, debunk some myths and like say what it actually is, and, not what people think it is, because there's lots of misconceptions about, you know, what this disease entails. It is a brain disease. There's lots of theories for like why, it's, and it affects like lots of parts of your brain and body, to be honest. Like I think there might be some immune aspect to it, and neurotransmitter imbalances, and like just I'm sure there's lots of genes that are in fact like involved in terms of like seeing risk or changes like for your risk for schizophrenia, and some of it might be epigenetic. And but yeah, again, I'm not a specialist on this. I just happen to have some symptoms of schizophrenia, and uh, I was kind of tired of like all the misconceptions about it, and what it is and what it isn't. So hopefully I'll make another video on some of my own personal experiences with it, and maybe some other aspects of things related to mental health that people don't talk about as much. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any thoughts, comments, feel free to leave it in the comments below. And yeah, see you guys in the next video.